All right, everyone, and welcome back. How is everyone today? Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, everybody.
And let's give a great warm welcome to Elizabeth.
Yay, welcome,
Hey,
Elizabeth.
hello,
Hello.
beautiful. And Elizabeth is with Qetesh Healing, which I am so excited to bring her and host her today. So, real quick, how's everybody feeling?
Yeah,
Doing good over
good.
here. Yeah.
Doing good. It's a bit rainy today, but I'm sitting in here snugly.
And you
Mm.
are joining us from where, Elizabeth?
Australia. Australia. Yeah.
Yes.
Whoa, far away. Very cool.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So, do you want to start? Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Where do I begin? I do quantum hypnosis, but like three different sort of kinds of quantum hypnosis. I've done the quantum healing hypnosis technique, the Dolores Cannon method. That's like I don't know, like I'm a level 2 at that. I did BQH. That was actually the first one that I started with because I was not ready to put the investment into quantum healing hypnosis technique yet. It's a little bit more expensive. So I decided to do the BQH first. And then I did the soul center healing hypnosis, which is the entity release technique that goes on the front end of the past life hypnosis. So you do the entity release, the past life hypnosis, and then you do like you connect with the higher self. So it's like a three-part sort of technique. And the BQH is just like do it your own sort of way, however you want to do it. There's a lot of freedom in that. So I've done like three different versions of it and I create my own versions too. I do my own sort of scripts now as well.
I think we
So
all
yeah,
do. The further in we get, we
yeah,
kind of start
yeah.
playing with it and making it work for us and tweaking it to, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I tweak things now to make it my own sort of thing and to add my own thing into it, which is like the Cathara grid sort of healing, which kind of seals you off to, any further entity intrusions afterwards.
What is that called again?
Cathara grid. So it's like
Cathar grid.
it's working with the blueprint, the original human blueprint of the person before it was like altered by darker forces, darker energies. So it's bringing that back online so that that person it doesn't have any new entities re-enter their field anymore.
Oh, I like that. Is that
Yeah,
done with
Hmm.
hypnosis or is that done a
yeah.
different way?
I can do it with hypnosis. I can do it with remote energy healing. I can, yeah. The angels and my higher self taught me how to do it.
I love that.
Amazing.
Wow.
Are you going to make that like, are you actually going to make that into something that you offer? Like, are
Yeah,
you
yeah,
going to
I'm
write
gonna
a,
make it into something because it just works like so well for people and it like logs them back into the original Earth grid, not the false matrix grid, because there's different ones. There's layers of them.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, back into the Gaia energy? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, yes, back into the original Gaia Earth
Yeah.
matrix. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty spectacular. Wow. And so you said your guides gave that to you?
Yes, well, my higher self gave this to me. So through doing all of these sessions, I'm like connected like really closely with my higher self. So sometimes things will just drop in and like if you do enough of these quantum hypnosis sessions on yourself, your higher self connection is really, really strong. So like your higher self is just like, what about this? And because, my higher self is like an angelic sort of creator being that works with all of these blueprints, it kind of like taught me. And then I was just like, okay, we're changing people's blueprints now to, shield them off to entities permanently.
That is really cool.
Mm,
That's cool. Huh. Okay. Well, one of the reasons I was so excited to talk to you is because, you and I met in SCHH when we were
Mm.
both going through the program, and I thought that was really neat. And your direction has taken you a little bit differently than mine. And so I really wanted to
Mm.
talk about because you are working with so many different galaxies and so many different beings. And that's what I really kind of wanted you to talk about if you are ready. Yeah,
Yep,
would
yep.
love to hear. Where do you
It's
want to
like, well,
begin? Wherever.
yeah. Um, should I begin in alphabetical order? I don't know. There's so many of them. So in our galaxy alone, so mostly I focus on just this galaxy because like the universe is enormous and like in this galaxy alone there's like 88 constellations, and each one of those constellations has like, hundreds or thousands of stars in them. So it's just like, well, where do you begin with all of the beings? Like I've barely just, scratched the surface, but I'm mapping it out as I do a bit of galactic astrology stuff on the site. Well, I'm learning that, but I'm not. I'm like halfway through the course on galactic astrology, but I'm kind of like mapping it out in like my own sort of way through the quantum hypnosis and Akashic records as I do it. So I'm discovering a whole heap of other, star beings that like are not necessarily touched upon in, I guess, the mainstream sort of spiritual stuff. Like, of course, there's the Arcturians that, that come through all of the time in these sessions, but there's so many other beings that like people have lifetimes as, and it's just like, well, where are those beings from? And I find where they're from. And, I put it like on a little bit of a map so that people can see what constellation or what star that they're from.
Hmm. Very cool. Go ahead, Deanna. You look like you want to say
My
something.
mind is going so fast right now. Um, can people have, I mean, if people are coming from different galaxies, would you, or, different wherever places, would you say
Mm.
that they're star seeds, or is it reincarnations? Like, how does the process work?
So each person has like, I wouldn't say a star seed because I think we need to think of it more expansively after I've learned what I've learned. So it's more of like a soul journey. So your soul may start out in this galaxy in Lyra and then go to Orion after that and then go to the Pleiades, or like, because of the multidimensional nature of our souls, part of your soul could be having an experience over here in Lyra, another part could be having an experience like over here in like Arcturus or the Boats constellation, which is where they're from. Another part of you could be in the Andromeda galaxy. So our souls are really, really big, and sometimes they're in many different places at once. So it's like, well, where are we from, really? And, at the end of the day, it's, source energy, God, because
Right.
we're kind of like everywhere if you really, like, if you go into it, if you go into the deep onion layers of where are you from, it's a whole heap of things.
Oh, I love that thought so much.
Are
I love
you
that.
Have you found, are you bringing the soul together? Are you putting it back together or are you leaving them? And I guess let me back up a little bit. I just heard something the other day that I was like, hmm, exactly what you're talking about. You know, how your soul is in different places at different, because
Mm.
time is not how we
No, it's not
humans
how we
look
think it
at
is.
it.
No. Mm.
Um, which is always challenging to talk about because a lot of people don't understand. Even though I know that time is continuum and it's not linear like we like to think of it in the human construct, it's still kind of hard to wrap your brain around. So thus, when I talk about it, it's hard to uh, verbalize, I guess, to get a good, clear picture of how to describe it. But anyway, I heard that when there's certain aliens that visit you, that when certain aliens visit you, that's your future self. And I thought that was so fascinating. Have you
Mm.
heard that? And where does that link up with your work?
Well, like it could be like your present self, but just in like a higher dimensional form. But I have like, done readings for people where like a Pleiadian from the future has come in and, spoken with me. And the Pleiadian from the future was like much more like higher vibrational, higher dimensional, just like made of light. So there are future versions of things as well that come back to give us a message where it's like, your future Pleiadian guide or your future Pleiadian self, or yeah, like a higher or a future human even. The I had a client the other day have a regression into the future and like in this lifetime, and he saw a timeline where everything was just like his entire physical body was just so much lighter and everything was so much more beautiful on Earth. And that was when I logged him into like well, not logged in, but did the divine human blueprint. And when that happened, he could see like those timelines that, he could anchor in where he could choose that. He could choose to have like a lifetime in his lifetime right now where he has like a much lighter experience in a body. So we get messages like that all the time.
So,
Do they ever come from the past? And I don't mean like, I know that there's past life regression involved, but actual beings, like you said, that can come from the future, do they ever appear from the past as not part of like a person's actual regression in this lifetime? I don't know if I'm
Um,
explaining that right.
yeah, no, that's okay. You can actually, and I've done it before too, you can channel a past life personality. And it's
Mhm.
like almost like they come from the past and into your body right now, like their ego self from that
Whoops.
to
I think you
speak.
froze. There we go.
And I
Okay.
did that with, one of the, yeah. So yeah, you can channel an aspect of you from the past. So I don't know if that answers your question
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I've
I
tried it
guess
before and it works. Yeah.
yeah, different than a past life regression is what I was thinking. But yeah, that makes perfect sense. Wow.
Yeah. So it was like a past life aspect for me that was like in Orion and like I wanted to see like because if I could have like a communication with that being, even though I know that being died, like and that being was me, so and it was a really strange sort of experience, like that aspect of me coming back into a body, and it was like the sense of like smell was really really heightened, and it's like psychic abilities were really heightened as well, so I got like a really big headache afterwards.
mm,
um yeah, it was really really interesting, and that being had like a completely different personality to me. It was kind of like almost like a bit defiant and yeah, it was really interesting.
a little
Yeah.
defiant.
Yeah.
How interesting.
Mm.
Wow, that is so cool. So, what are you really loving about the work that you're doing right now? And I guess where it's taking you, like what is just, yeah, what are you really loving about it right now? Because it is taking you in such what I consider to be a cool aspect. I mean, you're just out there, in my opinion. Like you're practically not on Earth anymore, other than physically, I guess is the best way to
Yeah.
say it. Like everything that I see that you are doing is just out there.
Mm. Yeah, well, it's just like something that I've been doing since I was a kid, really, not following the crowd.
Mhm.
Because, I get told like all the time, like, well, growing up, I got told like, oh, why don't you just do it like everyone else? Why don't you just do it like this? Why don't you just do it like that? And, I was diagnosed with autism. I don't do it like everyone else naturally. I just don't. I never have and I never will. And I guess, at this point, I'm just like, I'm just gonna have to embrace that because that's just a part of who I am. And I've had like other, spiritual people come to me and be like, "Oh, you shouldn't focus so much on galactic stuff. You should just stick to the bread and butter like everyone else." And I'm like, "Actually, no, I don't want to do that. Go away."
I totally agree with you. Do what fits. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like that doesn't bring my soul as much joy. I don't think that's what I'm here to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you loving about it right now?
So what I'm loving is just like the journey of it and exploring like the different aspects of everything. It's almost like the sort of feeling that Pokemon gave me when I was little. There's like so many different ones.
Aw,
I don't know.
that's adorable.
It's interesting. It's just really, really interesting. I like that sort of thing. Yeah.
I'm
Was
wondering, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Have you had any experiences like, I don't know, people say UFO or whatever, but have you ever had any like physical somehow meetups with beings from other places?
Like I think I have, but like part of my memory was wiped for it. Like I've seen stuff in the sky, and then
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure like I was split out of time and taken up there, but like I don't remember like much of like what went on when I was up there. Like I seen like a whole fleet of UFOs, and then it was like time went really, really slow, and I'm pretty sure I was taken up there. And then another time, like I woke up in the morning very aware of that I'd been somewhere in the night, and then like having like this very vivid memory of like being on a bed, and then having the Rigelian beings, the beings that I talk about from Rigel. There were two of them there, and then there were like sort of there was like a bright light, and like I was like, there on the bed, and like my arm was like out like this, and they were like taking like some black dots out of my ear, and it was like this AI stuff, particles, graphene oxide, whatever it was, taking it out of my ear, and it was like being like, I don't know, they had some sort of device and they were pulling this out of me, and then they were like sort of talking to me telepathically, about something. And yeah, then I thought my mind thought that this was ants crawling up my arm. But, in the morning I was just like, I don't think it was ants. It was a really, really weird sort of memory.
Wow.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
So what
S-
were the beings that you said?
Rigelian, they were from Rigel. I'll see if I have like a picture of them somewhere. Um, they're kind of like I had a lot of past lives as these sort of beings.
Okay.
Like,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, they looked like that.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're just
That's
kind of like, yeah, beings with they have these like big sort of eyes.
Almost kind of an elfin type of feature a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
look really elfin, and then they have like these flat sort of faces and really big eyes and like squash sort of noses. So, yeah. And
that
I
is
just
cool.
seen like them like with their like sort of they all have this black or dark hair and then very, very big eyes. And yeah, and I just saw like two of them like in front of me, just talking to me and pulling this AI stuff out of me. And I
Wow.
know them. I like them. Like I talk about them a lot.
Regalians.
Mm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
from like not the main star of Rigel, but like there's two other stars around Rigel that like make up what we see when we look at Rigel, and they're from like those two other ones.
Hmm. That is really cool. So yeah, that's actually one of the things I did want to kind of go into is let's talk about some of the galaxies and some of the beings that you have. Like you were mentioning these regalians, and what are some other ones? I know you've definitely been in touch with the Octurians,
Oh yeah, I've been
a
in
lot of
touch with
them
the
as well.
ones that, yeah, the
Pleiadians.
Pleiadians as well. Like I'd received messages from them before, like in the nighttime often the being will come to me, and one of them was a beautiful woman, and she was like, telling me some Pleiadian light language in the night. Which was like she said like alokai ki, which means like I love you in a deep sort of sense, and
Mhm.
then just like pass that on as like a message for me to share with other people as well. So
The
yeah.
the Pleiadians do like to share their information, don't they, Deanna?
Yes. Yes. For me, it's a lot of Syrians, and some random things I don't know yet, but yes.
Yeah.
Oh, how exciting.
So we mentioned the Regalians, we mentioned the Pleiadians. Who else? Arcturians.
Yeah, Lyran beings. I'm writing like a book on the Lyran beings as well. Like, what happened in the past. Like there's the feline type of ones and like wait, I'll put it I have to tell my but yeah. Anyway, they're feline Lyran beings, so they look like cats. And I've gotten like I've done a lot of guide readings for people, and a lot of their guides are like those Lyran, the feline beings, the lions. Some of them, like I've even seen tigers, jaguars, like there's all, and panthers. There's all different sorts of these felines from Lyra as well. Like every single cat that you can think of, yeah, is like from Lyra.
Hmm, that's interesting. Alrighty.
Did you,
So
oh,
go ahead,
we gotta
Deanna.
I gotta practice this.
No, it's okay.
Did you say there's two different types of Lyrans other than cat, or just
Yeah,
that's
there's different types of Lyrans. So there's the cat ones, and then there's the ones that look like elves, like elven humans. And we are descended from the ones that look like elves. So the ones that look like elves, originally they came from like a primate cat type of animal that existed within the forests of Lyra a really long time ago. So this is where the majority of the human genome comes from, is this small cat-like primate. I think it was like maybe a fusion of a cat and a primate.
Huh,
So yeah,
that is
so
so
that's where
fascinating.
those beings are from. So yeah, they evolved from a cat-like primate and then they became like what looked like elves.
Very cool.
that is so cool.
I know, right? So what is some of the most so Regalian, Lyra, Palladians, Arcturians, anybody else?
Okay, so
Syrians.
yeah,
I know you've gotten
Syrians.
Syrians.
Yeah, I've gotten Syrians before too. The Syrians are like there's quite a few different types of Syrians as well. There's like the ones that look like with the big sort of bald heads, like, ones that are like positive Anunnaki type of ones with, humanoids with big, you know, elongated skull and bald heads. Then there's ones that are like blue sort of beings with bald looking heads. Then there's ones from Series B, which is just dolphins and whales and those sort of cetacean beings. Yeah. So it just depends on which part of Sirius you're talking about. But Sirius B, there's a lot of beautiful dolphin beings from there. And a lot of people get really excited when I talk about Sirius B because they have, I think a lot of people must have connections to those dolphin people. And the dolphin beings, well, they're dolphin beings, they just look like dolphins. But they appear a lot in healings as well. They love to heal. They have a lot of healing abilities.
Yeah,
Is that
I was trained in Unity Field Healing, which is gifted from the Syrians. Not the I guess it would be Syrian A, from what I
Mm,
understand. And they come to me just like a, I don't know, it's like a bluish light kind of when I'm doing the healing, it's just all the lights that I see. So that's good. You did it affirms a lot for me. So I love their energy. Um,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. The ones that I've seen, I think the ones that you're talking about are the blue Syrian beings. They kind of look like blue people with like bald heads. That's just the way I see them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see them with the just, I mean, when I'm in the healings, everything is lights, I see a lot more lights than all that. But yeah, that's really interesting. That affirms a lot for me. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, wonderful. There's apparently there's humanoid beings around Sirius as well. So there's
Mm-hmm.
ones that look very much like, humans, except with like a more tan sort of complexion
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm-hmm.
well. And I haven't seen too much on those ones, but I know that they used to be there on the Earth a really long time ago. Like they and a lot of them interbred with the people on the Earth a really long time ago. So that's where a lot of our Syrian genetics come from.
They weren't the giants, were they?
The giants, like, they could be a number of different species because there's a number of different species that came to Earth a really long time ago, and some of them were like, 9 feet to 12 feet tall. Like, it just
Mhm.
depends on the species. All of these things about giants, it's like, well, there were so many different beings that came, like, which ones are you talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So what are some other galaxies that you've encountered?
Um, so some different ones that I've encountered are like ones from Orion, and people often, I don't know, they don't like to look into Orion too much because of all of the polarity and stuff that went on there. But I actually think it's quite interesting because of that. But some ones that I've seen that I've had lifetimes as from Orion, of course, the Rigelians, but also like these gray-skinned drow elf type of beings. They look like a fantasy race from Dungeons and Dragons, like they've got gray skin and, white hair. I'll have to see if I can show this sort of
Oh
image. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what they look
Oh,
like. That's
yeah.
what they look like. And they're like a lot of them are quite negative, but they have an interesting history. They're very much like people on Earth as well. Like they drink alcohol, they they eat meat. They generally worked for the Draco Reptilian Empire, but um yeah,
They
it's
actually
it
eat.
they eat meat. Yeah, they eat meat.
Huh, not just eat, but eat meat as well. Wow,
Yep,
that's
they eat
interesting.
meat, they drink booze. They had all
That's
sorts of,
hilarious.
problems with that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And who
Yeah.
else? Because I know you've ran
Um
across a lot. That's why I'm like, okay, come on. I want to hear about them all because I know you've come across a lot.
yeah, there's uh, if we're still going with Orion, there's the mermaid beings from Antarctica, like other people have had regressions as those, the mermaid beings. Their planet and their civilization was like destroyed by, of course, the forces that were within Orion at the time. And so, yeah, like a lot of those beings from Mintaka, they kind of didn't really have like a home after that. Their home was destroyed. So starseeds and people from Mintaka can often feel like this deep sort of sadness because their home was destroyed. And they were very beautiful mermaid beings, like higher dimensional sort of mermaids. Yeah, so that was very sad for them, I suppose, when that happened.
Hmm. So
I
you
can
said there
see.
was some kind of conflict going on there. I don't know a lot about it, but what happened that made all that?
Basically, the Draco Reptilian Empire was just wanted so many resources from our galaxy, like just from everywhere. Like they at a point they had expanded absolutely everywhere. Like everywhere was like their territory. So like I've facilitated regressions before where people are looking at star maps from those times and they're like, pretty much like there isn't so many territories that aren't controlled by them. It was either like, under the Federation control or it was under like, their control, but, they were also infiltrating the Federation. So it got really, really messy. Yeah, it's very much like Star Wars, actually. Very much
That's
like
what I
Star
was
Wars.
just thinking. Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
And so that led to the basically the destruction of the, I'm sorry, it starts with an M, but I don't know what it was. What you were just
Mintaka.
saying. Yes,
Yeah.
Mintarka.
Yeah,
Okay.
because they just they saw planets of beautiful, peaceful, high dimensional beings that, couldn't defend themselves as like sitting ducks. They were
Mhm.
like, okay, they're very peaceful, they're not going to fight us off. We're just going to come and take whatever we want. And so they just come in, they took those planets for resources, They were all about taking resources from planets, whether it's like the energy within a planet. They had devices that could just suck. energy from a planet, like very, very much vampiric sort of devices that could just, siphon big
Mhm.
streams of energy from a planet to power whatever. Also, resources like certain types of crystals that were very, very valuable, certain types of minerals. Yeah,
Wow.
Mm.
yeah. It was like a big pillage of like the galaxy's resources under the Draco Reptilian Empire.
Wow. That must have been horrific.
Yeah, it was for many planets, including Earth and this system, because yeah, like we are coming out of that. We are coming out of that sort of control mechanism, and it's gonna look like that they're gonna lose the control over Earth.
Hmm. Well,
Hmm.
that sounds like it's part of the whole 5D ascension and all the stuff that's going on now too.
Yeah,
Um, as part of that, I mean, you can almost feel the vibes in the earth now where there's so much, well, so much chaos and conflict just everywhere. So that
yeah,
would make
like
sense.
yeah, like what they were after is just resources. So, and financial systems is another way of how resources are taken off planet, just in ways that we might not necessarily know of.
Hmm.
Talk
So
Yes.
about
some
that a little bit more. Go a little
so
deeper.
some planets have, like, as I've discovered, some planets have financial systems, and like these financial systems are like a control mechanism so that resources can be taken elsewhere. Like the financial system, like what I've seen from Orion and like through my astral travels, is there are beings in Orion in these big cities. In the Bellatrix star system, it's just full of cities, and they sit there and then they monitor financial systems on other planets, and one of those is on Earth. And like basically they monitor these systems so that they can send, like, just to see like who is in control, because they don't care about the politics, right? Politics isn't really who is in control. Who is in control, who are they concerned about, who is in control, is actually who has the most money. So they monitor the financial system to see who the real leaders are, like the take me to your leader type of a thing. That's what they want. They want to know who our real leaders are so that they can send someone to them so that they can make it like a deal or something. And that's how resources are funneled off planet in a backdoor sort of way on Earth.
Are there any working here now? I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like we're primed for it if it's not already going on. Just, thinking about what's happening, even in this country alone, but all over the world, it almost sounds like they're already here doing that.
Yeah, like I think they are, but at the same time it's like they're having difficulty with it. Like I asked, like, one of the beings that was doing this, I was just like, well, can't you go to Earth right now? And he's just like, well, no, there's stipulations in place. He was, very, very close-lipped. Like, this being in the astral was very close-lipped about what he was doing. But I was able to, find out enough about it to get an indication that something really weird is going on with like how they're taking resources from Earth. I'm pretty sure they are taking resources from Earth and then taking them off planet. But yeah,
Hmm.
I wouldn't know how that would be happening. The mechanisms for what's going on, because some of them can't come because of stipulations, or that's how we worded it as. Some of them can't come because of stipulations, and then others, like yeah, they must be able to get something somehow, but I think it's getting more and more difficult.
Do you
For
think it's
them,
getting more
good.
and more difficult because of the shift that's happening?
Yeah, and because of a
Yeah.
lot of protections that are in place with the benevolent beings, like trying to take back, like, this this part of the galaxy.
That
Hmm.
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great segue because the other thing that I know, and I was waiting on you to get to, which you kind of started to touch on, was the Federation. So let's talk about that and give a definition first for our people who do not know about the Reptilian Federation.
Yeah. So Well, it used to be created by I guess the Lyran beings that were tired of being chased and killed and all of the rest of it. So it was originally created like to be benevolent, like a sort of a thing to stop this from happening, to stop all of the invasions and attacks from taking place, because this became like a frequent sort of a thing. So it was put in place to stop this, but of course it became infiltrated by those very, forces that they sought to protect from.
Mhm.
So this happened, quite like it was infiltrated quite a while back, actually. So since then, like they've got like the main corrupted, as I've understood, they've got like the corrupted Federation sort of group, which there'd be beings trying to work for the better good in that, but a lot of the beings that are trying to work for the better good have actually broken away from that and have formed their own separate little councils and subgroups because they're aware that the main one is corrupted. So there's just been like a breaking apart of this happening, and sometimes like I've met beings or people's guides or something that are part of these ones that have broken away from the main group for those reasons, because they're aware that, it has become infiltrated. And I guess a lot of the time when I've heard like people channeling the Galactic Federation and people that I've known who channel the Galactic Federation, and they said that like when they try to channel it, it's just like it just sounds very, very urgent and it's not a good vibe. Like they're like, we're going to come and save everyone like urgently, and it's just really like they're aware that something weird is going on with it now. Like and more people are aware that like it's probably not what it's made out to be, to channel these big sort of organization like that. It's probably not a great idea.
So, I what I've heard originally, and just to make sure I understand, because I'm not up on all of this, and this is absolutely fascinating listening to you and telling, like, filling in the gaps for the knowledge. The Federation at first was supposed to be somewhat protective, and then
Yeah.
it sounds like now it's been subverted, and there's other
Mm.
groups around of the protective nature still trying to do the job kind of on the side away from them.
Yeah, yeah. They've kind of had to move away from that because there was like, as I've discovered with many, many sessions and regressions, there was like a bit of invasion of the body snatchers sort of thing going on where like members of the Federation were being completely hijacked with like AI devices.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Very interesting as we move towards that technology here more and more.
Mm.
I guess that puts us on a precipice of what's, good or evil. What are you going to use it for? Um,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
wow. Wow, yeah.
So have you heard anything yet about like what's to come with the Federation? Because I know that I've heard a couple of different mixed stories of like what the future is going to look like with the Federation and stuff, and especially mentioning AI and what the role that that plays in it. What have you heard so far?
When I asked my guides like a while back about the Federation, and I'm just like, is it good or is it bad or is it like, is it um what's going on with the Federation? They sort of they just was just laughing. They were like just laughing, and then they like gave me an image of a car that was broken down, and like a tire that was like its tires were punctured, and it was just basically fixed with duct tape and still trying to move on a road, still trying to drive. And then they're like, this is the Federation right now. So it is falling apart and still trying to do like this same work, but it's going to collapse eventually.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what role is that playing right now in society?
Well, I think that well on Earth it's just like well, you've got the control thing going on, so I don't know how it would be affecting, the ordinary people, but certainly like the darker factions of the Galactic Federation are apparently part of like the control networks as well. So,
That's what I've heard.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's just, I kind of like Deanna likes to do. I always take it back as we like that validation of like, oh, I've gotten this information. Okay, this is the same information you've gotten, and it just kind of validates all this because we're getting the same information, which is incredible. And so, I don't a lot of my circle, they don't get some of the same information that you and I get, and I don't
Yeah.
even get as much as what you do. I mean, I really don't. I don't get as much as you do. Like I said, you just live out there, which I find so amazing and so fascinating because when I do get those type of sessions, I kind of almost like cling on to them because I think they're just so freaking cool. And of course it's different, right? We're always gonna like something that brings a little bit of difference instead of the do 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 do. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's really awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, no, the majority of sessions that I do nowadays are those types of sessions, and unless it's like a person who wants to have like a different sort of session, and that's fine as well. Like if they have like a regular Earth sort of one, like I've had plenty of people do that as well. But yeah, a lot of the people that do come to, want to work with me are people who want to have those type of experiences or like yeah, open their minds to that sort of a thing. And that's fantastic because that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas my focus is kind of more on, trauma and mental health. So of course I'm gonna, that's my more focus. So I really enjoy helping people in that aspect. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really cool. All right. Deanna, I think you had a question, or are
I'm
you
just
just
I'm
soaking it
just
in?
soaking this in. This is wonderful. I'm feeling like I need a session with you just to get my mind around all of this. But I mean, it's really fascinating because we're different. I don't know how to put it. Different forms of belief have been around at different times, and you get like the evolution, the not evolution, or the religion or the not religion, or the spiritual and whatever, and to see it coming together in a bigger picture involving making people realize it's not just us, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of what you're saying, particularly the AI, is really sticking with me right now. I use AI at work, and it's
Mhm.
basic, but when you look at where things are trying to go right now all over the world, that's a huge push. And it just has me sitting here going, well, how much of this is from outside forces, not necessarily just people who are here of Earth, but that's why I asked people from other places that are masquerading or working within people. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah.
Yeah, the AI is like a big thing because of course like they do want to inject it into people's bodies and that is not benevolent.
Mm-hmm.
So beware of AI being injected into bodies, and the Arcturians will like they come through again and again and again, and then they're just like, okay, well, you just need to, that's your choice, but you need to be aware that it's hard to remove that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
When you have the nanotechnology inserted into your body, that's where the lines are really blurred. And yeah, you can have a lot of, I guess, trouble with that. So, just a big warning on injecting nanotechnology into bodies because they're going to try and do that. But this injecting of nanotechnology into bodies was the same sort of technology that they were using to control like members of the Federation. It's the same sort of negative alien technology. They got it from them. I'm pretty sure they got it from them.
So what are some of the benefits to having like AI nanotechnology? What are some of the benefits? Let's talk about some good stuff about it. Like I'm enjoying, certain AI technology right now,
Oh,
but
the
what are
AI
some of
technology,
the
like
Mm,
ChatGPT, is not the
it's not the
injectable
same.
one it's not the same one.
No.
It's not the same one. So, yeah, the one that they inject into the body is completely different to the AI that you use to create an image, for example. Like this little dude here is AI, but this is sort of like very, very surface level AI, and we can actually use this to help ourselves, but we just need to be mindful with how we use it and our consciousness level when we use it. So we can use it very mindfully and make sure that, we like are of a high vibration when we use this technology, or high oscillation, or just feeling good, putting our original creative energies into this to infuse it with light. So, this is very, very basic level, and the Arcturians have acknowledged this, that yeah, like it's a very, very basic level what we have of AI. It's not sentient yet. Like the Chat GPT is not sentient. That's what
Well,
they
I
have
think the
told
key
us.
word
Yeah.
there is yet.
Right.
Yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Mm-hmm.
sentient yet. It's in the initial stages. It's in the very initial stages. But the stuff that they have injecting into the body, like that is, yeah, you don't want that. But
Are they
So,
ChatGPT is different to that.
are
but
they
I
doing injections here like now, or is that something that's just been used before and is we're kind of being warned about it?
That was what the Jabberoo was. That was what was inside
she's
it. The
referring to the COVID shot.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
mm.
I just call it the Jabberoo in case, like, so that doesn't, that bypasses senses to call it the Jabberoo if you're going to place it anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
People generally will know what I'm talking about, but what was in that, some of those vials was nanotechnology. That
Hmm,
was, yeah.
hmm.
So that brings me back to what is some of the positive effects of that?
The positive effects of that, well, I don't know because it was designed to control people.
So in your work, you haven't found any positives.
No, not for the injectable one, no, because it
Okay.
was it was programmed, it was seeded with the intention of wanting to control people. So when it's seeded with that intention, then it can't be positive.
Heard and understood. Okay.
Mm,
I hadn't heard that, so thank you. Oh, that's interesting.
mm,
Now, I had heard a theory about AI from Bashar where if AI gets to the point, and this may not be the same technology, but if it gets to the point where it actually is sentient, it actually not just runs programs, but understands and reacts on understanding more like a human, then AI would be considered slavery in terms of taking something that is able to have its own thoughts and forcing it to work for you. I
mm.
just wonder if other places they're doing that already. I mean, away aside from the nanotechnology, but like other ways of doing that. Because you had said something about one of them was it was AI that they were using, if I'm
Mm.
not mistaken, right? To control or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like tiny, tiny little nano robots that do things. You can program them to do things in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be like, okay, give this person cancer, or control this person, or control their emotions, or like regulate their body, or it could be used for positive means, but I don't think that's what the controllers are using it for.
Right. Why would they if they're using it for control? It's automatically
Mm,
probably not good,
Yeah, it's
except
it's
for them.
automatically not good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's automatically not good. And the AI that we find in the SEHH sessions, the etheric AI as well, that is, basically from negative ETs to control people as well, to control
Hmm.
humans, and often like the greys are a big part of that, the grey ETs. So, there's all of this stuff in the new age about how awesome the greys are, but they're not, because, they're harvesting little bits and bobs and using people as their science experiment.
I've heard that about them, that they're not always as benign as we think, but they're going to come across as benign so that they can get to what they need,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, that's what's happening. I
Hmm.
mean, there's all sorts of different types of greys, and then there's beings that look like greys but aren't greys. But a lot of the, what we would call greys, they are negative beings. Of course, there'd be positive ones too, but a lot of them are particular. The ones that are very interested in humans are negative.
Hmm.
So yeah, and trying to use like our materials for their science projects.
Are there any beings coming to make contact or making contact that are not negative to us at this point? Like, I mean, I know we can pull in like through our minds and through our higher selves and all that, but like physically coming here, like we know the Greys are coming to do their
Mm,
thing. Are there others
mm.
coming that are not malevolent?
Yeah, well, the Arcturians, the
Okay.
Pleiadians, these types of beings, they actually coming physically to humans, Alpha Centaurians as well, like, good. Well, it just depends, because even Pleiadians, like some factions, or there's still many different types of Pleiadians. Some of them have their own agendas, and some of those agendas aren't necessarily good. So it's like always like, use your common sense,
Hmm.
use your street smartness when it comes to the ETs. People somehow forget that you need to be street smart when it comes to any sort of strangers that you're meeting. Yeah.
Or trust your
So
intuition. Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Well, people
Mhm.
people are going to assume that, I think that, oh, you come from a different part of the galaxy or whatever, therefore you must be smart, benevolent, wise, and you've come only to do good. But it's just like
Mm.
people on Earth. Some of us are really, really good. Some of us are really, really bad. And I imagine that we see everywhere.
Yeah, there's different types of beings with different agendas, but there are benevolent ones coming and assisting as well. It's a whole heap of different push and pull between different forces, so it's not all bad and it's not all good. Like, it's not all like, all of the aliens are demons, or, that's just rubbish. Um,
Right. Right.
because there's good and bad in
Yeah.
everything that there is. Like, it's just an interplay of these different forces, and I guess, to call them good and bad anyway, like, it's like to label them, they all have different agendas, like whether it's a benevolent agenda or whether it's a service to self agenda. They all have these different agendas,
Just like people.
just like people.
Just like
Yeah, just
people.
like people, just like people. And the more that we start thinking of them as being just like people, the easier contact will be.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense.
Mhm.
And like you said, just be discerning as
Mm.
to, where your trust goes and listen to your gut. Is Earth the only planet right now that it seems that we are the center of something? It might be because we live on Earth and we feel like we're the center of everything, but it feels like it seems like Earth is really kind of a center of something right now. Is there other planets and stuff that are going through the same kind of control issues and everything at the same time?
I don't know if it's happening at the same time, like maybe like in other galaxies, but Earth is important because it's like an important node in the cosmic web.
Uh-huh.
There's certain planets that are important nodes on this sort of cosmic web, which is like filaments of, light and
Mm-hmm.
energy. So there are all of these different nodes upon this web. And like, if they were to lose Earth, for example, like so much would be affected on this cosmic web. I don't know how to
Okay.
describe it. It's like these big
That makes
filaments
sense.
of light and plasma.
Well, I got to say, one of my guides comes in all the time talking about weaving the web and making the filaments. So that makes that makes perfect sense to me. Um, okay. Oh, that is so interesting to think about. Just when you think about it, like globally, what's happening with war and fighting over minerals and resources, it's a microcosm of a bigger thing that's also going on.
Yeah, yeah, everything
Absolutely.
kind of works like that as like a microcosm of a macrocosm. And
Hmm.
yeah, like if you've ever had a look at like Laniakea, like that's where we kind of are in like, or where our galaxy kind of is in the cosmic web. It's just like this big sort of filament that stretches out, that's like a cluster of all of these different sort of galaxies. But you zoom in closer, and then, yeah, like there's all of these important nodes that are upon this web for the greater whole. And yeah, Earth is Earth, and this solar system is, yeah, one of those important nodes. Yeah.
Wow.
What do you see coming in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, yeah, it depends on what humanity chooses because, yeah, like we can make
Mm.
predictions all we want, but we have to choose the timelines. We have to take an active participant in, or participate in choosing the timelines, and we can do that. We can choose these timelines. So we can choose the highest timeline, or we can choose, like, other timelines, but I'm gonna, like, knowing that, I prefer to choose the highest timeline for me personally.
Hmm.
So what it's gonna look like is a lot of breaking down of previous systems because we're choosing things differently.
Yep, I think I can see that reflected all over the globe right now in
And
lots
then
of
it's
different
gonna
places.
rebuild beautifully.
Mm.
Hmm.
I know the breakdown is hard. I do. I
Mm.
know that the breakdown is hard, and I know that there's a lot of uproar of how the breakdown is happening. But I've said this before. I might not like how it's happening and the steps that are being taken for the breakdown. I don't, it just doesn't jive with me, you know. However, I can see beyond that. And beyond that, once we start to rebuild, I think that's
Yeah.
it's going to be so much better. And by that time, I feel like the Earth will, if not be finished splitting, almost finished. And that's when New Earth and all the things will come together, which is going to be just a really, really exciting time. I don't know. I see that happening within about the next 5-ish years, right about the 5-year mark. Is that what you're
Yeah.
getting as well?
Yeah, like it's gonna happen really quickly. Well, what they've
Hmm.
said is that, like, we're going to see more technological advances like in the next, I don't know, couple of years. Like it's going
Two
to
to
be
three.
breakneck speed that we ever have in, like, our entire lives and more, like, hundreds of years of technological advances just rolled out in the blink of an eye.
I have
I don't
met
know what that will look like, but you can guess.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I have met more people going into the hospital or medical field who
Mm.
are bi either bioengineers or architects of type in the, medical field, which I'm like, that's interesting. Mhm.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
just
that
find
is
that really
interesting.
fascinating because it dings and resonates with what I've,
Mm.
all the information I've been getting, and I'm like, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the more people talk and the more you meet people who are doing certain things, or um, and when I say that, I mean like more of a younger generation, like that 20-ish, to 30 generation, they're really jumping on board with a lot of the technology engineering in different
Mm.
facets. And it's like, mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm,
I think they're going to be the ones that kind of save us, for lack of a better way of describing it, the ones that are up and coming now, and the ones
Mm.
that they are bringing in. Different generations had different jobs to get us to where we need to be. And we're
Mm.
at the point, I think, if we're looking in, because I know I've heard a lot about 2030. But as we've managed to get things to that point, then the next up and comers are the ones that are going to take us over that hill and beyond. And then we'll
mm-hmm,
just come back and help them. But I
mm-hmm,
plan to come back. I was talking about that the other night. It's like, no, I think I should come back and see what happens next. I don't want to stop. I don't want to stop
mm-hmm.
this
Mm.
forward movement, this good light work. Wow, so
Mm.
many interesting things, Elizabeth. I am just so
Yeah.
grateful for you coming on and just giving us all of these.
I was going to say, I have a few more questions, and I know that our time is here for today. Elizabeth, would you be interested in coming back next Monday for a part two? Are you available
Um,
by chance?
yeah,
Next,
I've got my diary right here, and yeah, it looks like
and I know how to
yeah,
do that and get in touch with you, and yeah.
yeah.
I just didn't know. Maybe I would really like to have a part two with you if you're open to that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I'm fine for doing a part two. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I know that our time for today is wrapping up and we need to, yeah, and we're going to start closing up. But I have a handful more questions, and I know that once Deanna sleeps on this, she's going to have some more
Oh
questions
yeah.
too.
Oh yeah.
And I just really am excited. I told you I'm so excited to have this conversation with you and just learn about everything that's going on out there with you. All right. So, how about this? Parting words for today. What would you tell the listeners today? Like, what do you think they need to know right now?
That they get to choose their timelines. Yeah, don't wait for anyone to save you. You choose your own timeline.
And then
Yeah.
next time when we come back, we're going to talk about what that looks like.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Perfect. Perfect.
Awesome.
Mm.
Awesome.
All right. That's where we will.
All right.
I'm making my
So
notes.
we
All
will
righty.
have links and ways to get a hold of Elizabeth in our show notes. And as always, ask us questions, we will answer. And be blessed and be blessed because that's it for this one. And we'll see you next
Yeah.
time. Okay.
And I will link your YouTube channel in here as well,
Yes.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. And I have one shout out for today. If anybody has any shout outs, I have one shout out for today. Hello,
Mhm.
Lena. Hello,
Hi,
beautiful
Lena.
girl. She's so cute. She's a young one that I met just yesterday, and she's adorable. So wanted to give a shout out to her. Do you have anybody who you want to say hello to, Elizabeth?
Um, Maybe just to my boyfriend. If he ever listens to this, I'll just, just give him a shout out.
Okay. Very good. Hello, boyfriend. Yeah,
Just
that's
to let him know he's
beautiful.
appreciated. He's appreciated. Yeah.
Aw, love
That's so
that.
sweet.
Yeah.
So sweet.
I do. I love that. All right. Well,
All right.
everyone, thank you so much for being here. And remember, come back next Monday because we're going to have Elizabeth on again for part two. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Elizabeth. We're
Mm.
so grateful to have you and look forward to
Yeah.
seeing you next Monday as well.
Thank
Yay.
you.
All
See you
righty.
then.
Good night,
Bye,
everyone.
Bye.
everybody.